Hey guys, Desolator Magic here, and this video is going to piss you off. This was just unbelievable when I read this. Unreal. I mean, I posted it in my community tab, so you might already have an idea what I'm talking about here. But if you didn't see it, basically a 61-year-old longtime player of the game told Mark how much he hates Mill and can't stand to play it, and Mark basically told him to F off. That's if you read between the lines of the corporate speak PR polite nonsense. But before we get into that, let's just warm up to it a little bit with more gems found on Mark Rosewater's blog. The Sound of Drumming blog, which that's fantastic, asked him, is it too early to ask where you think Mutate and Companion fall on the storm scale? I'm guessing 6 and 9. And Mark says, good guess. Really? Mutate is a 6. Mutate should be an 11 and Companion should be a 100. For the record, it only goes to 10, but for the record, one of the entries has an 11. I think it's like bands with legendary or bands with other... It's one of the banding mechanics. It has an 11. So if you're not familiar, the storm scale is like the likelihood that they'll print something again, and if it's really toxic, awful, poorly received, and format warping, they give it a really high number, making it unlikely it'll be printed again. 6 is like... It's not impossible, but we might see it again, which we should never see Mutate again, ever again. That's insane. It ruins everything because you get both creatures. So you could take a really like a wizard that's like a 4-cost 1/1, and the drawback is he's a 1/1, slap something on top of it, and all of a sudden you got a super wizard. And plus you mutate on top of a tiny little hexproof creature, you got a disaster. It's a recipe for disaster. Mutate was never supposed to be a thing, but Mark pushed it through. Now at least Companion allegedly is about a 9. People wanted him fired over Companion. I'm surprised it's not a 10. Although he still thinks there's nothing wrong with it. He thinks the exact implementation or the exact cards were what was wrong. So he's not making it a 10, he's making it a 9. It should be an 11 based on the community backlash and how much damage it did to the game. That's ridiculous. When you have to change the game's rules after the fact to eliminate something so toxic, just to make the game almost playable again, you have to change the rules, and it's a 9. Really? Did you have to change the rules for Storm? No, and Storm's a 10. This should be an 11. It exceeds anything else that's a 10 on the list. Wait, I don't have the list in front of me, but I think Anti is a 10. And that violates federal gambling laws, so maybe it should have been a 10. I mean, I don't remember bands with being violating any federal laws. And that, once again, is an 11. But by the way, if you're wondering what kind of ass kissers there are on this blog, let me just read the next one. I finally got my hands on some Jumpstart, and it was a blast playing with my family. Pass along some distance elbow taps to the appropriate people, smiley face. Will do, he replies. That's the kind of people that are on this blog, okay? Mark did an interview for another YouTube channel that's pretty well liked, and the video was so hated they had to turn off comments and disable ratings just because Mark was in it, okay? If this was an honest cross-section of people who actually had something to say to Mark, every single comment would be just like, get Ebola and die. You know how people on the internet are. Oh, the next one I have to read. Mr. Popo God says, can you high-five the people responsible for making Mill viable and standard? Will do. Nothing I could say about that would be acceptable on YouTube. So use your imagination. All right, let's get to the main event. I am shocked that he actually responded to this. So Vector-EM says, hey, Maro. From the point of view of a 61-year-old who has been playing MTG since its inception, guys, that is 26 to 27 years, Mill is a very unfun aspect of the game for me. I would rather concede a game immediately than experience that type of gameplay. I know you're aware of land destruction being a buzzkill mechanic. Ooh, this guy knows his shit. 15 years ago, that was hated by the community more than anything else. And have done a good job keeping its cost high, but I feel that Mill has just become too cheap and easy to pull off. Not really a question here, but giving you some feedback. Thanks for listening to an old man. Old school smiley face. We're talking colon hyphen parenthesis. None of that colon X Japanese weeb shit. None of that lazy ass colon capital D garbage. This is a 26-year veteran of the game. This is a classy boy right here. Mark replied, thanks for the feedback and the years of playing. Mill is beloved by some, but I can agree it can't be too easy. Well, you made it too easy, so apparently you don't agree. I mean, you literally designed the set. So he's basically dismissing him, his entire play experience, which is actually, I think, longer than Mark Rosewater's been in the game. He's probably older than Mark, too. And then he's just dismissive. Mill is beloved by some. Well, you're just gonna have to deal with it because Mill is beloved by some. Yeah, assholes. There are some assholes in this community. I don't know if you knew that or not. Catering to them is really stupid. That's like catering to just the pros or just the net deckers. You shouldn't do that. They're the toxic parts of the community. You should pretend they don't exist and design around them. And anything they tell you to do the opposite. Because the majority wins and the majority gets out their wallets and buys your products. So if you cater to a tiny little sliver of the community, like the mill enthusiasts, aka the former Yu-Gi-Oh players, aka the most immature, antisocial, possibly psychotic members of the community, because seriously, what even goes through your head if you're gonna play mill? Like, what is wrong with you? Who hurt you? What broke in your brain and what caused it? I hope that China lets all the current internment camp residents go and refills the camp with mill players. They have the surveillance intel to probably spot them all. Mark doesn't have the balls to take another poll after he got just destroyed on his own blog and his own Twitter account by his own fans when he asked, are you comfortable with the power level standard? It was like just right, too low, too high. And depending upon which one you look at it was 70% plus that said they're not comfortable with the current power level. And almost every comment out of like 200 comments saying they like the power level said, I don't play standard, I just want the cards for commander. So their votes could be thrown out. So basically 100% of the community said that they want a lower level, a lower powered standard. And what do they do after rotation? Make it more powerful than it was with 8 sets. That's hard to do, actually. And then on top of it, they throw in basically the most toxic archetype in the game. I mean, I'd say maybe like an approach of the second sun and the entire rest of the deck is control and draw. That's the winner. I'd maybe even put Super Friends up above Mill. I don't know. That one's maybe equal, but Mill's definitely in the top 5% for most obnoxious, toxic shit that never should be printed ever. In fact, Mark Rosewater himself said in that 25 years, 25 lessons garbage video that I still haven't been able to get through all of without wanting to destroy my computer. He said, I think it was Threshold or whatever, or Dredge or one of the ones. He said he found out people actually wanted to play their decks. They don't want to just toss cards into the graveyard and then do some dumb gimmick. They want to play the cards. They built the deck for the reason they want to play the damn game, not just sit there in top deck after they lost everything. Well, that describes black discard, land destruction, and mill. So you'd think he would have learned, but a lot of the Mark Rosewater ass kissers, because they're such immature, just mentally crooked, deranged people, they keep telling him, I want mill, I want mill, I want to play mill, because I want to brainlessly win without any effort. I just want to throw out a crab and drop lands and then board wipe. That's who he listens to, and they're overrepresented in the people that he hears from on social media. So once again, I'm encouraging you on any way you can contact him, reply to something, leave a comment, Twitter, his own blog, I don't care. Reply about how much you hate Mill. He needs to hear the truth. He needs to hear an accurate cross-section of what the community wants and doesn't want. And the fact that somebody could say, I'm 61, I've been playing the game for half my life, I have seen literally everything the game has to offer, and there's one thing that makes me want to on-site concede the game instead of play it out, and it's Mill. And he's just like, Mill is beloved by some. So I'm trying to load the comments on this post, because there's 35 of them, which is an above normal amount, so I can't wait to read these. They're either going to piss you off further, or they're going to tell Mark to shove it. But Tumblr is just sitting there spinning, and there's nothing wrong with my internet, it's just Tumblr's a pile of shit. So, in the meantime... There's a couple more of these fine comments I have to read here. Not comments, questions. I don't know how Tumblr works. Posts? I have no idea. But fine Servine Behind, okay, says the Planeswalker gender question made me notice that there aren't very many mono black walkers. Lily and Ob are the only consistent ones, with occasional guest appearances by Soren and Davriel. Soren is almost always mixed white, isn't he? Every other color has several mono-colored walkers in their wheelhouse. Is this something R&D has noticed? And he says, we are aware. But are you aware that nobody but SJWs give a shit? Are you aware of that? Oh my gosh, it finally loaded. All right, that took about 3 minutes. So I'll read one comment from an idiot and then one comment from somebody who actually knows the game. So I guess I won't give the name here, but it says, if the game is reduced to attack with creatures until you are dead, which is obviously false, it will be infinitely less fun. Mill is a fine strategy to build around and challenging to play and win with. It's bad enough that land destruction was eliminated as a viable strategy, so it's that type of asshole. I would rather combo disappear than Mill. So back in reality, Gman003 says, I think the problem with Mill is that there's not much natural counterplay. Can we get like a hallelujah amen in the crowd somewhere? Somebody finally gets this. There's nothing you can do about mill except for some bullshit graveyard recycler that they'll just counter anyway. And it's never in your deck's colors. It's never colorless. It's never free. It's never, this spell can't be countered. It's just some weak little, oh look, we did something to defend against mill, and there ain't any room in my damn deck for it. And plus, it's a 4 out of 60 anyway. I'm not going to draw it in about 45% of games. Why should I have to waste 4 out of 60 of the slots in my deck for this bullshit just to stop a garbage toxic strategy where once they see the graveyard recycler, they're going to forfeit on the spot? Why the hell should I be forced to do that? I want to build what I want to build without a mandatory 4-card tax because Mark Rosewater put some toxic shit back in the meta. No thanks. Let's go back to another dumbass. Milling you for 15 cards has as much impact on the game as hitting you for 5 damage. Wrong, you start the game with 53 cards anyway, but no one is saying that Lightning Bolt and Shock can't be in a deck together. No, people have said that actually. Life gain counters 5 damage. In fact, let's say that instead of Shock and Bolt, he said, I don't know, some haste goblin or whatever. It is a creature. Well, you could summon a 0/5 and stop it. You could summon any creature and stop it. In fact, let's see. What colors have access to life gain? It's pretty much 4.5 of the colors. I lied, it's all the colors. Shadow Spirit's colorless. If you count colorless, which you shouldn't, it's 5.5 of the colors. Mitigating damage is like how the game works. You can come back from 5 damage. You can stop 5 damage. You can life gain, heal it. You can do anything. You can reduce it. So this dumbass comparing 5 damage to milling for 15 when there is nothing you can do about your library running out of cards, and if you're running a 1 or 2 of and they mill both of them and now you can't win, well, you're just screwed. Nobody likes the feeling in any game of, well, because of the deck they're playing, I can't do anything. There's no solution. I'm just going to sit here and lose. And if you're going to say, oh, just kill them faster, kill them before they can mill you out, that's not always conceivable. Not everybody has to run a super blitz speed deck. When everybody runs a fast deck, it gets boring and stupid and whoever goes first wins. You need mid-range and honestly, you need slow decks. So saying that people just need to outspeed it, no, that's not true. That is absolutely false. I mean, then we got another dumbass. How can you feel justified in asking someone to remove or depower a mechanic simply because you don't like it? Because it's factually, mathematically hard to deal with, obnoxious, and just impossible to play around. Let's say they had, the next set, one of the mechanics is hexproof. Hexproof tribal, okay? So for like all other hexproof creatures get +2/+2. Oh, and also they're all flying. So it's all flying hexproof. So they could just swing away and half of them have lifelink, we'll say. So now you are pigeonholed into running a board wipe or losing. That's it. That's all you can do. That mechanic, not by opinion, is bad. By fact, by game design, logic, numbers, card interactions, any way you measure it, that is a bad mechanic. Now, the same could be said about mill because of its lack of interactivity. You lack any kind of options to stop it within reason. It's the same as all life-linking hexproof as a mechanic tribal flyers. At a certain point, when what you can do about it is that narrow, you need to rethink it. And by rethink it, I mean remove it from the game and do something else. Design literally anything else. There's a million different options out there. So it's not an opinion that mill is bad. It is a fact that mill is bad. Because factually, it doesn't interact with anything. Factually, almost nothing in the game can stop it. That is bad. You can support that with proof and just how the game is designed at a fundamental level. Wow, there's a lot of dumbasses. Oh, I saw a guy playing a 250 card deck. Just do that if you hate mill. Yeah, I'll get right on that. I'll diffuse my best, most powerful mythics to 4 out of 250. What a great idea. He said 251. I'm going to assume that's a typo unless it was a companion deck because you can't do that. Arena won't let you go past 250. So back in reality, Nightshade Fairy Dust says +1 for not liking mill. It can feel like a really low mechanic. And for the poster who comments on learn how to combat mill strategies, I'm pretty sure black and green are the only colors with decent options in their chunk of the color pie, which eventually results in half the decks playing mill and half playing blue-green. Or black-green, obviously. Good lord, B is black. Another person just generally pointed out, and this is a very good point, I think where the weird decks become broadly problematic is when they're like weird fringy, odd win condition decks, but they're strong enough to occupy a significant metagame share. Because yeah, nobody wants to play against weird fringe shit. Like, oh, something that's not in the meta. Oh, you're still using a tribal, but it's not the tribal everybody else plays. No, I'm fine with that. I mean like alternate win condition level weird. I mean, that's my opinion on it. It sounds like that's his opinion on it as well. One person, I guess I'll read this, is a valid point. They say, while it's totally fine if you personally don't enjoy playing with Mill, it's pretty objectively not even close to being land destruction levels of oppressive. Yeah, land destruction doesn't even let you play your deck in the meantime while you're losing and can't do anything about it. So, yeah. Another person, to paraphrase, because it was a multi-parter, vanilla normal mid-range middle speed decks are the highest percentage, so most people are playing them. So if you have a fringy combo deck, or like a turbo fast combo, or a all-in blitz rush deck that wins on turn 4, or, you know, a fringe win strategy, an alternate win con, any of those will push out every single other deck. So they move so many other options out of the meta that it's not healthy, because now you're pigeonholed into running one stupid little strategy to stop this stupid out of control crap. It's more common with stupid red blitz decks, but it's still common with stupid alternate win con decks. The difference in one doesn't even let you play, and the other one doesn't even let you play because it's all counterspells and board wipes. And bouncing crap back to hand and then countering it when you try to cast it again. That's fun. So I'd say 1/3 of the people in the comment section get it and 2/3 of them just do not. They're making very narrow-minded, like, you know, what do they call that? Like single-focus, non-sophisticated reads on what's going on. They're just like, getting milled for 5 cards is nothing. It's not important until you drop to 0, so stop complaining. Like, that's such a tiny little thing that doesn't take everything into consideration, like its impact on the meta, what it does to deck diversity. Like, if you take it as a whole, anybody who knows what they're talking about will say Mill is toxic and never should be in the game. So the fact that Mark would be that dismissive over a 61-year-old who's played the game since it was invented, that is really, really offensive to me. And probably it pisses you guys off just as much. But I wanted to share it with you just to show what an absolute jackass Mark Rosewater can be. And now if he reads his own comments, 2/3 of them will support a very, very unpopular opinion in the community. And that's why they keep making such stupid decisions at Wizards. Because they mute or delete or ban or just don't get the following from people who hate what they're doing and hate them and think they're making mistakes. And then the clueless ass kissers are all they ever read comments from. And so they keep making the same mistakes over and over and over because they think it's what people want. That's how this happens. So you know what? For the whole next week, I would recommend all of you, I guess, register an account on Tumblr, oh my god, and go to Mark Rosewater's blog called Blogatog, and just weigh in with a comment on anything he says. Same with Twitter. He says some dumb shit, tell him politely what you think. Just, I disagree, here's why. Just that simple. Because he's not going to listen to, you're an idiot, you're wrong, how dare you tweet this, blah. He's just going to be like, oh, look, another lunatic. If he was just flooded with 100 comments that say, I hate Mill and it makes me want to quit the game, I mean, he'd never print it again. He'd be like, holy shit, I didn't realize this percentage of the community hated it. Oh my gosh. It's just like Companion. The backlash actually reached him. And now it's a 9 on the storm scale, according to him, I guess, sort of. So yeah, this is truly, truly ridiculous. Speaking of ridiculous, I'm going to probably put some pretty ridiculous gameplay over top this video. Oh, I can't wait to see what I come up with. And I'm going to go research if I can put a deck recycler in my garbage landfall deck from hell. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next video.